The man noticed something strange when he got home. His wife, dripping wet, slowly approached him. Their 3 children were nowhere to be seen. He asked where the kids were. She answered with a strange expression. They're in school.
My school is...
But it was the weekend. Then he looked out across the lake. 3 bodies were floating on the surface.
Oh my God.
Walt immediately jumped into the water, only to find all 3 kids had been dead for a while.
Please, God, no!
At that moment, his wife, who had been suffering from depression, seemed to regain clarity.
Set me free.
Walt shot her. In a single day, he lost his entire family. 3 years later, agents Walt and William took their first assignment on a remote island, tasked with locating a female inmate who had escaped. Soon they arrived at Shutter Island. The moment Walt stepped ashore, he sensed something was off. One of the guards even tightened his grip on his gun upon seeing him. Along the way, Walt learned this prison held extremely dangerous psychiatric patients. Once you entered the facility, there was no way out. Even Walt and William had to surrender their weapons to be allowed in. But Walt noticed that William seemed unfamiliar when handing over his gun like he wasn't used to it. After passing through several iron gates, Walt finally met the warden. He explained the case of Daisy, the missing patient. She had drowned her own children in her backyard pool. Her husband had died in the war, and the trauma had driven her into mental illness. Even after being admitted to the facility, she believed her children were still alive, and imagined the hospital was her old home. The warden handed Walt her file. But as Walt stared at her photo, he was struck by a sudden headache. Images of a battlefield flooded his mind. He had no idea what they meant. He asked the warden for some pills to ease the pain, then inquired about the search efforts for Daisy. The warden said they had searched the entire island, but found nothing. Strangely, when Daisy disappeared, her room had been locked and sealed from the inside. The warden led them to her room. After a careful inspection, they found only 2 pairs of shoes hidden behind the curtains, clearly men's shoes. Then Walt noticed something in the floorboards. He lifted one up and pulled out a note. The warden couldn't make sense of the message. That night, Walt kept staring at the note, still puzzled by Daisy's sudden disappearance. He suspected someone inside had helped her escape, and the facility might be hiding something. The next day, Walt began interviewing patients who had interacted with Daisy. One of them acted suspiciously. While William poured water, she grabbed Walt's notebook and wrote something in it. William noticed, but said nothing. At the same time, a cup vanished for a moment, then reappeared in the exact same spot. Walt asked her if she knew someone named Malcolm. She immediately shook her head and walked away, clearly lying. Later, Walt and William discussed what to do next. Walt felt like everyone on the island was hiding something, as if their responses had been rehearsed. William tried to change the subject, asking Walt who Malcolm was. Walt explained. Malcolm had caused the fire that killed his wife. After an investigation, Malcolm had been imprisoned on Shutter Island. One of Walt's reasons for coming here was to find him. But after questioning the patient, he suspected Malcolm might already be dead. So he and William went to the island's cemetery. Though this was supposedly Walt's first time on the island, he seemed oddly familiar with everything. At the cemetery, they found no gravestone bearing Malcolm's name. William asked what the woman had written in his notebook. Walt took it out, but couldn't make sense of the word run. Due to copyright restrictions, this is all the content I am able to show.